Hey everybody, Erin from the Impatient Gardener. It has been busy fall. I've been working on a lot of things that I have not brought you along with. And actually I was just starting to work on things in the yard and I was looking for the wheelbarrow and I found the wheelbarrow here full of leaves, which is great. So I thought, why not just go and show you around some of the things I've been doing to button up everything for fall. Now we've taken care of most of the leaves that have fallen. We've been chopping them all up with this chipper shredder vac that we have, which is so much, but works so much better than the lawnmower. So that is really, we've really upped our game with that. And I was very happy to find this because I didn't realize there were any more leaves to chop up, and I have an insatiable need for leaves. So I'm just going to spread these on this garden behind me because I need to use the wheelbarrow for the next project. There's nothing fancy about the way I do this. I just pick a spot in the garden that needs leaves and hasn't had them for a few years, and I just sort of sprinkle them around. Because they're chopped up, if they land on top of a perennial or something, it's not going to hurt anything. They're not going to create like a big mat, and I don't think I've done this part of the garden for a few years, so since we're here. Now I did over here mound some up on the base of a rose that I've planted here, so they're really good for insulation. So if you've got some plants that need a little extra love, you can always throw a big pile of leaves on them or even sort of cage it around them. It's such a good soil amendment because it's just great organic matter, especially good if you have heavy soil. Great thing to do with heavy soil. Keep putting leaves on it. Eventually, you will lighten up that soil and your garden will be better for it. So the ground is actually like getting to be just a little bit frozen on the top. Not a lot, still can get in there, but it's a little crusty spot there. So I'm taking out some liatris here. So I planted these when I first did this garden, and I planted a lot of them because I got them as bulbs. They were super cheap. This was a lot of plants to fill in one garden, and it seemed like a good option. I still have many of them. It's just too many of them. So last year, at the end of the year, you might remember I pulled out a bunch of daylilies because I just decided I didn't like them. And even though I had no idea what was going to go in that spot, I knew that I would never make a decision on what should go in that spot until I got rid of them. So once again, I am forcing the issue here, and I'm going to make myself find something else to plant in this area. Now there will still be plenty of these left. There's a ton of them here. I'll leave a lot of them, but I don't need this many. So we're going to make room for something next year in this part of the garden, and I will have all winter to think about what that is. By the way, this plant right here is Eupatorium polished brass. I have two of them, new this year, planted from gallon pots this spring, and you can see how tall it is. What a fabulous plant that is. It's new. It's an introduction by Brent Horvath, so hopefully it'll be in wider distribution this coming year, but it's native, it's an absolute butterfly magnet, and little did I know, gets beautiful purple foliage in winter, or fall, I should say. So you can see that we have topped up the compost bins with a whole bunch of chopped leaves. So those are pretty set. I will probably come back with the clippers and try to break these into smaller pieces, but they're in here for now. As long as we're at the vegetable garden, let's go in here next. I feel like a good part of my fall has been spent here in the vegetable garden. We've been doing a lot of projects in here. First of all, we got the stock tank pond all cleared up. It's upside down for the year. A lot of people ask me why I don't leave it full for the winter. It would absolutely freeze solid, and I don't think that tank would last long if we let it freeze solid. Not to mention, we just roll it out of the way so we can clean all the leaves out of here. and then roll it back upside down for winter. It doesn't take long to empty it, and it doesn't take long to fill it. It's only 150 gallons, so it's not that big. Then the other thing we've been doing is, remember last year I planted tulips in here. Now, instead of planting them in the raised beds as I have in previous years, what I did last year was plant them in the skinny beds in the ground along the fence. And the reason I made that change is because I wanted my cut flower beds in here to be free for me to get things that needed to get in the soil before those tulips were finished. So I didn't run into an issue with having to either choose tulips or the flowers that I wanted to plant in there. So most of those tulips from last year should come back, but I did add some to them. So I added about 400 tulips on between the two sides, and another maybe 250 or 300 along the back. Not the same mixes that I did the previous year, but something that will complement that so that they'll all work together if the old ones come up and if they don't come up. So hopefully it'll be a great tulip display. My trick this year that I did was I used the auger for all the holes, and I planted 2 bulbs in every single hole because I have that 3-inch auger, and you got to kind of jam them together, but you can get 2 in there, and boy did that cut my time in half. Go figure. The other thing we did in this garden was that, you remember I had to kind of dismantle a part of the garden in order to accommodate this upcoming septic tank project we have going on. Well, I got all those plants out of there, and that's mostly what's in these beds this year. These beds are full of shrubs and perennials and all the things I wanted to save, which frankly was most of it because I don't know what the plan is, so I'm just going to do the same thing again. So that's what's in most of these beds overwintering in here. I've been keeping an eye on the water, and I hope they just hang in there. I can use them again next year. Okay, so here is where I took out all those plants from. This is where the whole septic thing is happening. At least the old tank is going to get decommissioned here. You'll notice that I still have not moved in this hydrangea in this pot. This will go into the unheated garage along with all the other perennials and shrubs that I have in containers. I guess it's just shrubs. They go in the unheated garage. I hit them with water every 1 month or so, just enough to moisten the soil, not enough to like run out the bottom of the pot. And I usually keep the pots up off the ground because if they freeze to the concrete floor, you can actually rip your pot in half, so that's bad. So that is on the agenda. Probably we'll do that maybe Thanksgiving time. I like to wait until they go dormant before I put them in there, so they naturally go to sleep before I force them into that by putting them in the garage. Okay, then there's a couple other things we've been doing too. All right, so now we're in front, and I want to show you just a couple of things. I did spread some additional leaves in here, but I did protect a couple of plants, a few of them from deer and rabbits, and a few from the dogs. I don't know if you remember, but this pretty little rosy teacups dogwood that's right off our back steps. Last year, it was looking so good, and then the rabbits went on top of a snowbank and chewed off a bunch of branches, and it lost its shape, and it was really sad because it was looking really good. So it recovered well from that. We still have a lot of sort of reshaping to do on it. So this year I got ahead of the game, and I did put a cage around it. It's really ugly. We ended up using the poles that you use to mark your driveway in winter, these reflective poles or fiberglass. They do work well, and there's a little bit of a gap in there that I'm going to have to close up, but I'm hoping that this will keep the rabbits away from it, and hopefully, I mean, technically it's a really thick, heavy plastic that I ordered instead of the metal hardware cloth. I think it'll be okay. If they're really, really, really into it, they might be able to chew through it. I will keep an eye on it, but that should protect it no matter how high the snow gets from the rabbits being able to stand on a snowbank and chew off a part of my tree. I also moved the Cornus wolf eyes over here. Been planted in sort of a new area over by the shade garden, kind of near the circle garden, and I decided in fall I didn't like that, so I moved it over here to its new home, and I am protecting it with something. I actually saw this, my neighbors tried this. I've done versions of this in the past. All I did was take bamboo poles, angle them out, and then put in a few rows of twine on there. We'll see if that keeps the deer off this or not. Generally speaking, if the deer run into one of these strings, they get freaked out and they don't go in there. I'm not sure I have everything far enough or not. This kind of thing does work, and I have done this with other shrubs before, but I've always done it with poles that are much farther out from it. So we'll see if this works or not. Anyway, I do think it's a little bit interesting, kind of architectural, and certainly better than your average cage. And lastly, this is the Odin protection. Odin is our boy Newfoundland who really likes to go to the bathroom, particularly on boxwoods. So I have caged these with that same material that I used to prevent the rabbits, but I put in a little bit of a liner of leaves because he'll probably go to the bathroom there anyways. At least the leaves will keep it from burning the boxwoods.